Great Spirit, I vow from this time on to dance towards enlightenment. I will fight my inner darkness with any tools and knowledge that works. I accept all teachers, teachings, paths as equal. I honor all paths to the light. I will learn to walk in balance with Grandmother Earth and in harmony with her children. As a warrior, I will fight the enemies of ignorance, superstition, dogma, prejudice, racism, slavery, poverty, sickness, disease, illness, and death. I vow to always honor the elders, the women, and to protect the children. I will use my love, my physical abilities, my knowledge, and the medicine tools in this battle with darkness. I will empower all humans on their search for individual autonomous freedom. O Great Spirit, the all that is and always will be, hear my intent. Hello, my name is Darlene Dove. I invoke this vow to illustrate how important it is to understand Psyops. I do this for the children and future generations. There is a global agenda to ensnare the minds of humanity. My intention is to expose this power and control agenda and explain how it works. The desire of the few to control the many has been with us since the dawn of time. Religion, royalty, and politics have been methods that all of you are familiar with to keep the masses of humanity in ignorance and obedience. Most people throughout history were not allowed to go to school and gain knowledge. Without knowledge, people are more easily led and do what they are told. Violence is necessary to control those who know in their hearts and souls that humanity was meant to live as free, sovereign beings. Fear of violence became enough for people to obey the will of the power-hungry and stay silent. In today's world, the main method of control is bloodless. It entraps the mind in confusion and mistrust that leads to false ideas of what reality actually is. These are psychological operations, also known as Psyops. I'm going to take you through a few major modern-day Psyops and why they are causing so much harm to humanity. I invoke the spirit of Ma'at, the ideal of truth, justice, and harmony, to be with us as we take this journey together. What is a Psyops? A Psyops is a type of covert warfare that involves the use of communications to influence the way people think and make decisions. Problem solving has been hijacked. People that prefer to remain hidden in the shadows are making decisions for the unsuspecting masses of people. Modern media is used to manipulate the emotions, opinions, and attitudes of people to keep fighting amongst one another, ultimately with the intention to compel ordinary people to take action in line with a specific message that supports the tyrants of the world. These tyrants know how the human psyche works and how to pull the strings. Emotions such as guilt, shame, and fear are used to create a state of confusion. People cannot think clearly and make good decisions when emotionally out of balance. People do not know how their psyche works and can be led into false solutions that serve agendas of those that do not have the best interests of others in mind. Knowledge of how the psyche works allows those in power to continue to manipulate the populations of the world to do what they want. These psyops work because people are not able to distinguish between truth and falsehoods, reality from fantasy. People accept things that are not true or refuse to accept what is true, preferring to live in false realities that protect them against their fears. By using the knowledge of how the psyche works and occulting or keeping hidden this knowledge, the few can manipulate the many, who do not know any better and do not realize they are being played. Those who use psychology to control others see themselves as gods on earth and achieve their goals by enslaving humanity under a false system. The vast masses of people are ruled by those who know exactly how to push all the right buttons. A modern-day Psyops took place on November 22, 1963, that John F. Kennedy, the President of the United States of America, was assassinated by a lone gunman. The evidence showed it is scientifically impossible that a single bullet or a single person killed Kennedy, yet anyone that pointed out this blatant truth was ridiculed. The CIA coined the word conspiracy theory to discourage all debate against the official and social narratives. A completely ludicrous explanation was forced on the public as truth. Reason is destroyed by repeating over and over a ridiculous narrative that has no basis in reality. The public must accept these narratives or be labeled as stupid and dangerous to public safety. Many found it easier to acquiesce to the official narrative than to question those in authority. The stage was set for future psyops to be perpetrated against the public with the intent to demoralize, confuse, and take away freedoms. The next major psyops was the 9/11 false flag that 19 Muslim terrorists from Al-Qaeda, under the leadership of Osama bin Laden, hijacked 4 commercial airplanes, deliberately crashing 2 of the planes into the upper floors of the north and south towers of the World Trade Center complex in New York, and a 3rd plane into the Pentagon in Arlington, Virginia, killing close to 3,000 people, striking at the heart of democracy. Fear enveloped the world as the media cried, "Terror, terror, terror," causing many to submit to loss of freedoms in the name of security. Even though the official stories about the attack on the World Trade Center was full of more holes than Swiss cheese. In September of 2003, the USA went to war with Iraq on the pretense that there were weapons of mass destruction found in Iraq, and was accepted as truth, even though there were glaring inconsistencies in the story. It was found later that there were no weapons of mass destruction to be found. How easy it was to lie, as the public was constantly being psychologically conditioned by the media to accept absurdities as truth. More freedoms were lost in the writing and enforcement of the Patriot Act. People submitted to dangerous technology, agreeing to be screened at the airport by radioactive backspatter scanners with unknown health risks. Surveillance became normalized. Going to war, bombing, and killing people were accepted as justified. Life had been degraded. Human rights and freedoms taken away. Humanity was spiraling into tyranny. The most recent psyops we are all familiar with is that a virus, SARS-CoV-2, with the disease caused by the virus named COVID-19, necessitated worldwide lockdowns, mass masking, and mass vaccination under an emergency directive issued by the World Health Organization. The so-called vaccines, in reality, were a new technology using biological, synthetic, messenger, RNA, gene therapy treatments that had never before been used on global populations. No studies had been carried out to determine if there were any long-term health consequences to using this new technology. Every man, woman, and child around the globe was forced to accept that a global response was necessary to fight this deadly virus, to trust the science, to not be able to question the narrative unless they were an expert. These public health directives were made mandatory despite the growing body of evidence that these measures were not only ineffective but posed serious health risks. Many died from neglect than from the virus itself. Global populations were being forced to accept an increasing totalitarian global regime under the direction of Big Pharma. There is nowhere to run. There is nowhere to hide. If humanity does not want to descend into tyranny, a stand has to be taken now. To prevent humanity from taking a stand, a pernicious Psyops has been put in place and introduced into the public domain, encouraging people to stand down, to stop asking questions, plus linking those that are standing up to tyranny as believing in fantastical, false realities, questioning their ability to reason. Emerging in 2010, the belief that the Earth has no curve and is flat under a domed firmament made its appearance. Ancient Greeks have already proven that the Earth is a globe by conducting an experiment that compared the shadows of sticks in different locations. When the sun is overhead, there is no shadow. At the same time, in a city 500 miles away, a similar stick cast a shadow. If the Earth was flat, both sticks would show the same shadow.
Here's a map of ancient Egypt. I've inserted two sticks or obelisks, one up here in Alexandria and one down here in Syene. Now, if at a certain moment each stick casts no shadow at all, that's perfectly easy to understand, provided the Earth is flat. If the shadow at Syene is at a certain length, and the shadow at Alexandria is the same length, that also makes sense on a flat Earth. But how could it be, Eratosthenes asked, that at the same instant there was no shadow at Syene and a very substantial shadow at Alexandria? The only answer was that the surface of the Earth is curved.
The ancient Greeks used the difference in angles of the shadows to calculate the circumference of the Earth within 10% of its real value. Another method is to determine the Earth is not flat, is when comparing the night sky in the northern hemisphere to the southern hemisphere. One will observe the stars are different. On a flat Earth, the star patterns would be the same. Observation is the keystone to scientific experiment and is discouraged by those insisting the Earth is flat under a firmament created by God. Those that believed the flat Earth theory have developed a deep mistrust of government, which is warranted given the level of misinformation. But not trusting in government does not mean that the Earth is flat. Belief in flat Earth demonstrates a lack of knowledge in mathematics, geometry, and measurements. The objective of the flat Earth Psyops is in guilt by association, to make anyone that questions the government to look to be uneducated. All that needs to be said to a person standing for truth and freedom is, "You are a flat earther." The conversation ends and all credibility is lost. Engaging in debate over science that has been settled since ancient time creates nothing more than divisions and frustrations, wasting time that could be spent in gaining true knowledge and problem solving through acquired wisdom. The Hitler is a good guy psyops influences people to take the side of the Nazis, furthering the totalitarian agenda, turning evil into good. Anyone that subscribes to this psyops has lost the ability to discern between right and wrong. This is also associating anyone that questions the official narrative with racism, Nazism, and white supremacy. It demonstrates a lack of knowledge of history. Again, in guilt by association, people standing for truth and freedom are made to look like they are standing for slavery and elitism. The QAnon psyops is that a group called the White Hats are bringing global elitists that are in truth perpetrating crimes against humanity to justice. This encourages people to look to outside authorities to take care of the problems that are considered too big for the public to deal with. The freedom movement becomes one of wishful thinking, believing others will solve the problems for us. This psyops feeds on trusting that all will be taken care of, creating false hope. This prevents people from challenging corrupt government policies, engaging in real-world action. No one is going to do this for us. Speaking up about government actions that cause harm and exposing the agenda for global domination are needed, rather than spending time supporting imaginary scenarios that lead nowhere. This psyops incites people through emotional manipulation about the gross injustice of government, resulting in reactive solutions rather than well thought out, measured actions that address the real problems of government. This psyops keeps everyone spinning their wheels, fighting amongst one another, allowing the globalists to carry on as usual towards their goal of world domination. Religion is the father of all psyops. It convinces people to believe in a higher authority that operates through a religious class of divinely appointed human beings. If you don't believe, you will be damned for all eternity. The modern day New Age movement psyops presented a new system that is an alternative to traditional religion by mixing spiritual truths with religious lies. This can cause people to fall into dangerous spiritual traps that prevent the true awakening to higher consciousness and awareness that there is much more to the world than meets the eye. Meeting together in groups, meditating, and focusing only on the positive, while good for health, are not going to solve real-time, real-world problems. Acknowledging there is a real threat to human sovereignty and action against this real threat is needed if tyranny is to be stopped in its tracks. Money is a long-standing and massive psyops that everyone on earth is familiar with and under its spell. Money is seen as having intrinsic value when in fact it is nothing more than a piece of paper. Its use is based on scarcity, greed, and desire of power over others, rather than a medium of exchange for the abundance that earth provides to all of us. It divides people into the rich and the poor. Higher consciousness knows that all humans have the same rights, but each one has different skills to contribute to the world. A return to balanced exchange is essential if people are to live as free, autonomous individuals in peaceful societies. A psyops encompassing the globe, under which all other psyops are subsumed, to keep people focusing on an enormous, elusive problem that no one can see or solve, is man-made climate change. Rather than addressing real-world problems, People are led to believe that the use of fossil fuels is changing the climate by raising the levels of CO2, causing global warming that will result in catastrophic weather patterns that will be the end of humanity and all life on planet Earth. This simplistic framing of the problem that rising CO2 levels will destroy us all has resulted in absurd solutions. Carbon taxes, for example, only provides a money stream for activities that in fact release more CO2, not reduce it. The trillions of dollars spent, for example, to engage in war releases more CO2 than every other human activity involving fossil fuels put together. War and the harmful technology made to engage in war that only pushes forward tyranny is being promoted more than ever. Carbon capture techniques cost billions of dollars to extract carbon from the air and pump it into the ground, ignoring that Earth is ever changing and carbon dioxide is what plants require for life. Most people are unaware of the symbiotic relationship between humans and plants, that humans breathe in oxygen released by the photosynthesis of plants, and that plants breathe in carbon dioxide released by humans and mammals. Knowledge of human relationships to all of life is lost, making it easy to manipulate people to believe the false human-created systems is all there is, rather than relate to the planet Earth we all live on. There are real problems with the use of fossil fuels that do create toxic environments, but carbon taxes and carbon capture are not going to solve the local problems created by careless mining practices. Time and money are wasted by continually talking about the climate problem at costly forums that do nothing to put forward solutions that work. Real problems are not addressed. There are not any solutions put forward that involve designing and implementing inexpensive, sustainable, clean energies. Nuclear energy is promoted as clean energy because there are no CO2 emissions, ignoring the fact that highly radioactive waste is growing by the day with no safe way to dispose of it, plus the enormity of the damage caused by nuclear accidents. Actively discouraging innovation and research to invent safer, less toxic technology is holding humanity back. Constant catastrophizing that the world is going to end causes anxiety that is not good for anyone's mental health and well-being. Young people have resorted to throwing paint at great works of art, the finest of human expression, to express their own frustration and lack of ability to resolve problems with productive solutions. Basing decisions on mistrust of each other is creating social isolation, making it easier for control agendas that take away individual freedoms to be implemented as solutions. The world collectively is losing its mind. The ability has been lost to distinguish what the problems actually are, creating the inability to problem solve. By muddying the waters by divisive climate change debates, obfuscating reality for power and control agendas, humanity is losing its greatest asset, the ability to think clearly and live in harmony with each other on planet Earth. Psyops influence every aspect of human life for the worst. How can we escape from under the control of these insidious psyops that keep humanity from evolving to a higher level of consciousness? Being aware of psyops and the ability to identify them when they are in play are the first steps to breaking free. Returning to first principles of do no harm and learning about natural laws is important to start establishing how the world really works. Without an ethical framework, any system is doomed to fail. Seeing that everything is energy provides a focal point of gaining knowledge about reality. Interacting with the natural world and engaging in some form of artistic endeavors are ways out. Observing nature instills within us the sense of wonder and the desire to know how the world works. Scientists need to get out of the laboratory and into the real world, designing technologies more in line with the natural world, stopping the focus on artificial intelligence and synthetic biologies. The old adage, know thyself, encourages everyone to look at the self and find what rings true, gaining self-respect. This requires looking fearlessly at the truth and moving through the lies to your authentic self. Learning how to think, thereby acquiring knowledge, understanding, and wisdom, resulting in solutions that work in manifesting that which brings joy. Saying no to what you have determined does not make sense, will challenge corruption. Living in a state of war or living in peace, working together, is a choice. I hope that I have given you all food for thought and opened the door to discussion about this difficult subject of Psyops. This is only a brief introduction with much more to explore. Please share this information as we continue to courageously look at the truth of the matter and seek solutions together that work towards creating a more fair, just, and peaceful world.